Hello, okay, welcome. It's 1 p.m. Welcome to episode 3 of Teacher Talking Time. Nice to see everybody here. And don't forget to post your question in the chat. It'll be great to answer any questions you may have. And I hope you can hear me all right. I can see everything's working all right. I've got everything to hand, and I've got a new feature here on this episode where I can actually post up a question. So, for example, here I've got a pop-up. Yay! Get ready. We'll be starting in a minute. Okay, so any questions you may have, please feel free to post your questions in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Anyway, let's get started. So I hope you all had a great weekend, and we've got the week ahead to look forward to. And I thought today in this episode, I'd look at other YouTubers and other English language teachers that are on YouTube, so you can get to know a bit more about other YouTubers, and also share some of the other YouTubers that I watch that also teach English as well. And hopefully you'll be able to support them and various other things like that. So let's get started, and hopefully, if this works, let me open up the window and let's go to YouTube. Okay, and one person which I've mentioned before is Eric. So I reckon you should be following Etiquette English Teachers. That's what his name is on YouTube. So let me see if I can share this. Can I see this okay? Not just yet. Okay, Google Chrome. Let's go to Etiquette. There we are. So you can see here that Etiquette is very good. Almost 50,000 subscribers, so definitely well worth considering to subscribe to his channel. He does a weekly live stream as well on Sundays, and the live streams gather quite a few people to watch his content. And as you can see here, he's created a variety of different videos as well, and he posts up regular videos, a couple of times a week, sometimes more. And he also shares some tips and tricks for teaching online and various other things like that. So definitely well worth subscribing. He's got a membership feature now, so if you consider signing up to him, then that would be great. So definitely one person that I would recommend that you follow on YouTube. Anyhow, let's see if I can close that. That's better. So the next person that I would recommend is someone called Kangaroo English, and it's got a strange name. It's quite a interesting name. So teacher number 2, Kangaroo English. Now, this person, very good for learners and teachers alike. I would recommend this teacher here because he does look at the linguistics aspects of language acquisition. I've been watching his videos and channels for a variety of years now, and he has posted up quite a few videos, so well worth considering looking at this. I can see my face. Let me put my webcam slightly... no, I'll leave it where it is at the moment. But you can see that he's posted up a variety of different videos, and he does look at fluency and language acquisition, but it's particularly aimed for students and that sort of thing. So well worth considering subscribing to Kangaroo English. I found him particularly useful when it comes down to the more theoretical aspects of language acquisition and the various aspects of pedagogy when you're teaching. And he also runs his own school, I believe in Spain, if I'm not mistaken. So well worth considering. Any other YouTubers you recommend, English teacher YouTubers, please put a comment in below, and we'll be able to share that with everyone. Now, next person that I would recommend, particularly for learners, let me see if I can remember his name. Learn English with Duncan, I think it is. Is that it? Learn English with Duncan? I think it's English Addict. I think he changed his name. But this is particularly useful for students. This YouTuber, well worth considering recommending for your students. He does bi-weekly live streams at 2 p.m. So you can tune in on a Wednesday or a Sunday at 2 p.m. and he will normally provide feedback and support for learners that are trying to acquire English. And you can see he's uploaded a variety of different videos. He's live streamed and all sorts of things, and he started out 7 years ago, and his first video has gained over 2 million views. So well worth having a look at English Addict. Now, any other YouTubers you recommend, let me know in the comments, and let's switch back to our main source. So any questions you may have, please feel free to put it down below, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Now, in terms of Preppy, now what I wanted to do is I wanted to have a look at Preppy and some tips and tricks for trying to improve your profile. What I wanted to do is to have a look at my profile, and let me go back to our website. So here you can see that in Preppy you have a feature where you can look at how many let me just hide myself for a moment. You can see here that in Preppy you have an opportunity for students to review you. You also have an option where you have details of how many lessons that you've taught, number of reviews and hourly rate and that sort of thing. Now, when it comes down to the main aspects of creating your Preppy profile, I would recommend that you spend at least a good day on creating a profile. And you want to try and hook the potential student, when it comes down to this, in your heading. So here you can see my main heading is Certified English Tutor with 15 years of experience. I don't put British English tutor, or I don't put my nationality there, although there's a little flag to indicate to the student where I'm from. There's also a verification badge, which also goes into how you set up your account. But the heading is very important, because this will encourage the students or potential students to click on your profile and for them to consider for you to teach. Let's put my webcam back on. Now, I would always recommend that you include how many years you've been teaching in your header, and also the sort of professionalism or students that you aim to teach. So you could say qualified English teacher with 10 years experience for children, or qualified English teacher with 10 years experience for adults, or qualified business English teacher with X amount of years. This will grab the attention of any potential students that you may have. So well worth considering, well worth looking at. Now, the next aspect that you need to do is your about. So you need to include a bit more information about your profile. And here we've got experienced English language teacher. I don't know why that's highlighted. Let's click on it. No, it goes on. Okay, so here I put highly experienced English language teacher with my various qualifications, experience, and also what I can do. And then I encourage students to look at my profile with what I can help them achieve, So, I give them an example that many of my students have achieved academic success, or received that promotion, or that sort of thing. And if you can tell the students what you can offer, this will definitely help you when it comes down to promoting and encouraging students to book with you. Okay, the next thing that you need to consider is your schedule, and you can see here my schedule is a lot of my schedule has already been booked up, but you can see that some students have the opportunity to book at a later time, and you can see here Friday, not many students have booked up yet, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no availability. Now, this is good, and it's also bad. If you don't have much availability when opening up your classes, then you'll receive less students. But if you have a lot of availability opened up, then it'll allow students to book when's convenient for them. And it's also important that you tell students that, I've got 20 students that I'm teaching at the moment, and you need to try and book in advance. And I always try and get students to book at least a week in advance. Otherwise, their dedicated slot will, be booked up by someone else. And that's an important thing to explain to the students when you're trying to, get them and get their service. And it's always important to highlight the fact that you're not going to be available at the time that they need unless they book in advance. Okay, now the next thing which I found incredibly useful was that the reviewing system. And it's much like any business, you go onto any trade or any business that you are looking for. So if you want a plumber, you've got something like Check a Trade in the UK, and you've got reviews of that person, and the quality and that sort of thing. And Preppy is very similar to that, where you have a reviewing system. Fortunately, 7 students have reviewed me with 5 stars, and much like anything, you could get reviews of like 5s, which are good, or 1, which is not so great. And you can see here that many of the students have some of the students that I've taught over the time have reviewed me. Here you can see in June I had a number of students review me. July also 1 student, and then September I had 2 students review me. Now going a bit further down, I had this review by a current student, and he left a 5-star review straight after my trial class, and I'll get to trial classes in a moment. But you can have students review you straight after a trial class or straight after their first class. And it was unprompted. I didn't expect a review, and I was slightly surprised that someone would review me after a quick lesson together. Anyway, he reviewed me, and I thought, wow, that's a nice surprise. And since then, I've been, messaging students here and there saying, please review what I do. It's great for me to know what I'm doing right or what I'm doing wrong, and for me to improve as well. And it will help improve the quality of lessons that I teach with you. And that's how I spin it. And invariably, I get 50% uptake with that, with students reviewing me over that time. Going a bit further down with Prepply, you need to spend a bit of time on verifying your education and verifying your work experience and your certificates. And you can see here my education was all verified. My certificates were all verified. And there's a verification system with Prepply. And also for them to determine you are who you say you are, and the qualifications you hold are the qualifications you hold. And during the onboarding process, there's a process where you have to upload your passport, or get a scan of your passport, and they have a sort of app there, and then you have to take a selfie with the application on your phone, and it determines that yes, you are the person in the passport you say you are. And also the qualifications, they do a quick background check to make sure that you're not telling any porcupines. Okay, moving on. You can select a range of subjects that you want to teach related to English, and you can see here I've ticked up most of the things, and exam-based preparation courses, English for kids, that sort of stuff, which is really, really useful. So that's essentially what you need to do to prepare. And like I said, it takes a good day to prepare a solid profile for students to start booking up with you. Going to the right a little bit, you can see here I created an introduction video. And for when it comes down to online teaching, creating a good introduction video will definitely help when it comes down to selling yourself and trying to get students to book up with you. And essentially what you need to do for your introduction video, and I'll play it because it's linked to a video, is you have to break it down into different elements and keep it quite short, a minute to a minute and a half, I would say. And in that introduction video, you need to explain who you are, what you're offering, and what you offer is different to what other potential teachers could offer. How different are you? So what particular niche are you looking at? And also encouraging for a sort of call to action, I suppose you would call it, where you say, okay, I hope to see you soon, book a lesson, and that sort of thing. It's really quite useful in that respect. Anyway, I'm going to have a quick cup of coffee. So, excuse me. Let's get back to our main source, and I'm going to go over to our self-introduction video, and I'm going to share it with you in a moment, and you can see the different elements that I've included with this introduction video. So let's get back to our sharing, and hopefully you can see. I might have to drag this up a little bit. There we go. Is that better? I think that's better. Yeah. Okay, so here I've got my introduction video, and I'm going to talk through the different elements of my introduction video. Okay, and let's see if you can hear the audio, the desktop audio. Let me just double check desktop audio. First time I'm doing this. Let's see. Okay, and let's hit play. And go. There we go. Okay, so essentially what I'm doing is introducing myself. First of all, as you would with any introduction video, you include your name, and it's always nice to put a sort of thing at the bottom saying, you know, detailing your name. And it goes on. And the next element that I talk about is the countries that I've taught in. And so here you can see, if I just go back a little bit, the 3 different countries that I've taught and the one that I'm currently in. And so, you know, the students can visually see what sort of countries I've taught in. Okay. Moving on, we have the element of where I talk about the sort of experience that I have. Okay. And I've broken it down into different elements here. And so you can see it's very quick, very succinct, and it's like IELTS preparation, first for schools, KET, PET, that sort of thing. And it's like boom, 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 very short. Okay, so first thing, introduce your name. Next, introduce your experience, what countries you've taught in. Introduce the sort of niche that you want to focus on. And in this element, this video, I'm sharing the exam preparation courses that I've taught. Moving on, I go on to the qualifications, I believe. I think I've watched this. Yep. So here we have the various qualifications that I have, and various things that show that I'm committed and keen to teach English to various students. So here my qualifications, my diploma, my MA, and then my YouTube channel, give that a bit of a plug. And then this invariably leads students to learn a little bit more about me and who I am and what I do, and then my website, and you know, they could Google that and find that out if they wanted to. Okay. And I move on, and I kind of finish off the video saying, if you're interested, please feel free to book a lesson with me, and take care, and bye-bye. And that's essentially it. So when it comes down to a Preppy video, all you have to do is think of 4 things. Okay, introduce yourself, include the qualifications and experience that you've taught, include the various links to social media if you've built up a social media presence, and then a call to action. I look forward to teaching you soon, and if you've got any questions, send me a message. And that invariably encourages students to book with you, and then you have your trial class, and boom, it's all done. The trial class, that's another aspect that we're not going to look at today. So that's my profile on Preppy, and again I'll just share it here, and you can see that I've created quite a profile, and here the recent reviews kind of cycles around, I believe, so it could be different reviews, and it, you know, you could have a look at all the reviews down below. That's Preppy. Any questions, please post it in the comments. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have, and you know, dead keen to try out the new pop-up chat. So if you have a look here, I've included a new pop-up chat. So let's see, does it pop up? Yeah, there we are. Okay, so any questions, please let me know in the chat, and we'll answer any questions that you may have in terms of English teaching, online teaching, and anything else in that matter. Okay, right. So a bit earlier on, I was talking about different YouTubers that you could look at in terms of learning a bit more about who to watch and what to watch. Etiquette was one, English Addict another, and I want to have a look at some Kangaroo English. Another one that I want to try and share is another YouTuber, so bear with me. Right. One person that I would recommend, and I've just brought them up here, so let's go back to our main website. So one person I would recommend is English with Lucy, and she's probably one of the most successful YouTubers, I guess, on the platform, on this website. She's built up quite a big profile. She looks at a variety of different Englishes, British, Australian, American, etc., etc. She looks at pronunciation, and she tries to help students with their pronunciation. There's certain videos that I share with my students when I'm teaching them online, and it certainly does help for them to become a bit more aware of the sort of Englishes around, the different varieties of accents in the UK. And it certainly helps, push for students to access other teachers on this platform as well. So English with Lucy is good, very useful. She has been a teacher herself, I think in Spain, if I'm not mistaken, and also she's created lots and lots of videos as well. Okay, so English with Lucy is another teacher that I'd recommend. Okay, any other YouTubers you recommend, please put in the chat, and I'll be happy to share that as well. Right, I'm going to go over to have a look if there's any questions or anything else in the different communities that I've got. I can't see anything just yet. Right, in terms of let's have a look at a few other things. I was very fortunate to return to playing my saxophone. I've got my saxophone behind me. I was able to return to my saxophone and play some nice blues music yesterday. So that was quite a nice day out. It was actually from 1 p.m. I left, and then I was back at 6 p.m. So it was like the whole afternoon just gone. But 3 hours of music, just can't beat it, And it's nice that things are starting to open up now in the UK, and I've got my music going on as well at the weekends, which is great. Okay, Claire. Hi, Martin. Let's put this in our pop-up chat. So thank you, Claire. Let's choose that. Okay, so Claire says, hi Martin, please can you put the links to the YouTube channels here? I didn't get them quickly enough. Certainly. What I'll do is I'll share all the links in the description or the comments a bit later, and I'll be happy to share all those links as well. So thanks for your comment, Claire. And yay, I've got my first person with their comment pop up, which is great. That's wonderful. Okay, so thank you ever so much. Yes, I will put the comments in the description of the video after this video is finished airing or live streaming. Yeah, so thank you. Okay, right. So when it comes down to teaching online, I thought I'll give a few tips of teaching online, and I'll have a look at a variety of different things. Okay, so when you're teaching online, the first thing that you need to look at is the tools. What sort of teaching tools are you going to be using? Are you going to be using Zoom? Are you going to be using Skype? Or are you going to be using a Google Classroom? Okay. Now, I use a combination of just Zoom and Skype, or a relevant platform like Preppy, where you have the various things similar to Zoom and Skype. And they're all much for muchness. And with any tools, the first tip that I would recommend is to learn basically what is expected, or the opportunities with those tools, because if you don't know how to use them, then you're going to have some difficulties when it comes down to teaching. And with regards to Zoom, you need to learn how to create the breakout rooms, how to allocate a particular time for the breakout rooms, how to share a screen. And one thing that I have now discovered is with PowerPoint, I've found that it's kind of, when you try and open your PowerPoint or do a slideshow, I think that's the word. If you do a slideshow, then it usually takes up the entire screen. And I've discovered, in conjunction with Zoom and Skype and other teaching tools, that there's a way to reduce the size of the PowerPoint, or the slideshow, I should say. I wonder if I could share this with everyone, because it's a really important technique, or really important thing to consider when you're teaching online. And if you've created a PowerPoint, so for example, let me have a look at a trial class. Let's see. Let's open up a PowerPoint. And if you give me one moment, I'm going to try and add a new scene. So bear with me. It's going to take a bit of a technical attempt. I'm going to try and share my desktop, share my PowerPoint screen, and that sort of thing. So just bear with me. And I want to try and include my webcam as well. Now, you're not going to see anything, but wait a moment. Here we go. Let's go and add my webcam. There we go. So let's just reduce the size of this. Okay, all's not lost. We've almost got there. Actually, I'm going to put this on the left and just decrease the size slightly. There we go. Okay, now almost there. Bear with me. It's looking pretty blank, and I want to now share a window, and I'm going to put PowerPoint. Okay, right. So PowerPoint. Where are you? There we go. Okay, so let's bring that down a bit. All right. Now it's quite large, so I'm going to just resize it. This is rather fun. Okay, get in there. Apologies, thanks for your patience. Let's see, almost. Boom. Okay, and let's just increase the size, and there we go. That's better. Okay, so here you can see my PowerPoint. I'm gonna keep this for another scene later, but When it comes down to a slideshow, and instead of sharing it so it takes the entirety of the screen, you can just click slideshow here, and here you've got setup slideshow. Okay, and if you click on setup slideshow, it brings up a box. Now it's not showing at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to try and get a different source, but bear with me. Let's go to window capture again, and let's go menu. Right, now it does come up with a box here called setup slideshow. So here is the sort of box that you get up when you click on setup slideshow. Okay, when it comes down to setup slideshow, usually it's like presented by a speaker full screen, and that's why it is on the full screen. Okay, but if you want to share it within its own individual window, then you click on browsed by an individual window and you click OK. So that is essentially what we have, and let me just remove that window, and you have the opportunity to share your slideshow or present on its own individual window rather than the entirety of the screen. And does it show up? Let's see. And let me just get a new window capture. Let's see. Let's have a look at desktop. Okay. Okay, so here we've got PowerPoint slideshow. There we are, and it's quite large, but essentially what you do have is the opportunity to resize it and what have you. But that's it. So when it comes down to sharing your PowerPoint online, when it's down to Zoom or Skype or other applications, always hit that setup slideshow menu at the top, and it will invariably open up the menu and click on browse by an individual window, and you're good to go. Okay, so that's essentially what I do, and with the limited screen space that I've got, it's a good idea to try and limit the amount of space that's used by individual software. So just a small tip if you wanted. Anyway, let's go back. Any questions at all with regards to what I've just covered? If not, let's move on. So teaching tips, teaching online. Get to know your software, get to know the tools. If you're using PowerPoint, get to know the functionality of PowerPoint because it's a very powerful software tool. And have a look at Google Classroom, because Google Classroom is good for European students, not so great with what would you call it, students from mainland China, because they have difficulties there accessing Google. So here you can see Google Classroom and that sort of thing. You've got you can get started for free. You can go to a classroom, and it's pretty easy to use, quite interactive, useful. One thing that I've started using now is it called Jamboard? Jamboard's good, and it's a useful tool to use when you're trying to prepare lessons or different scenes for the lessons, and it just takes a bit of time to prepare everything, get everything ready. Still getting there with regards to the functionality of it. I prefer Google Drive anyway. Moving on, So yeah, first tip, get to know the tools that you're using. Now, in terms of technology, the second tip for teaching online is that you need to try and access or have suitable technology. Make sure that you have a decent laptop or desktop in that manner. You don't need the best or the fastest laptop or that sort of thing, because it doesn't necessarily help. You also need to make sure that you've got a decent pair of headphones, and that would definitely improve the audio when you're listening to the students. There's 2 headphones you can get, so just bear with me. You could get a wired headphone with a sort of pin that you plug into your laptop, or you get a non-wireless headphone. I think it's Bluetooth. The wired headphones are great. It provides a constant source of audio for you, which you can listen to when you're listening to the students. But the drawback of that is it doesn't allow much flexibility, because if your laptop or computer is a bit further away, then you need to try and, you can't really move back or move forwards that much. Otherwise, you're going to pull the pin out of the computer. Okay, which is why, anyway, those are backup headphones, but which is why I've got a set of Bluetooth headphones. And Bluetooth, great, you can walk around and have a look and that sort of thing, and you end up wandering around if the student's doing something, and you can still hear them if you're teaching them. Not that you would disappear for 5 minutes, but to get a glass of water or something, or they're in the middle of a task, you walk away, you can still hear what they're doing, come back if there's any issues, and that's great. But these also have a drawback. So these headphones are great, but you need to keep them updated and supplied with power. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit complicated. Yeah. Right. Bear with me. There. So technology, decent laptop, a good set of headphones, wired or Bluetooth. It's up to you which you prefer. And if you're feeling a little bit more, how will I put it? If you're keen to invest a little bit more in terms of your technology, you could get a microphone like this, or not like this, but a decent microphone. And microphones aren't that expensive now. Or you could get a camera, a webcam, like the Logitech C920, I think it is, or another webcam which you can put on the top of your monitor, and that will definitely improve how the visuals and the video for potential students. So first tip, learn the tools. Second tip, make sure you've got the technology. And the third tip is to make sure that you've got a decent Wi-Fi connection when it's down to online teaching, because if you don't have good online capabilities and that sort of thing, then it's going to be a bit stuttery. When you load a website and it starts to cycle and you're waiting there for a minute, it then takes a while for the website to pop up. Then that's going to be tough. So make sure you've got a decent Wi-Fi connection, make sure you've got good computer and all the other technical bits and pieces. Now, the next thing that I would recommend when it comes down to online teaching is to make sure that you have good privacy and safety rules with your online classes. Normally, if I'm recording a lesson that I've taught, like a trial class I had with Preppy last month I think it was, then it's important that you get consent for when you're recording your online lessons. The other thing is to make sure that you have good privacy, so you're not sharing details of students to other students or other people unless, again, you get consent. So that's another rule. In terms of space and resources, make sure, when you're teaching online, because we had the opportunity to differentiate our working space and our living space before the pandemic, but now we're literally working where we live. Then you need to try and create a space that's dedicated to online teaching. If you don't have that space available, then you're going to be finding yourself teaching where where you live, and not having that differentiation of where I work and where I live, like we used to, where you ended up going to the office every day and coming back, or going to the school and coming back home. If you don't have a dedicated working space, then you're going to get quite stressed, and you're never really going to feel settled about working from home. Okay. Now, when it comes down to materials, so tip number 4, when it comes down to materials, it's always quite useful to have a bank of resources. And what I end up doing is I end up creating a folder, which I could share with you actually. So if I go to Drive, for example, okay, right, so let me go back here, and let's go to the website. So here you can see that in Google Drive I've got a variety of different sources, and if I put here Preppy demo folder, you could call it Preppy and that sort of thing. So if we create that, we go into it, and what I tend to do with a Preppy folder is, or any lesson folder, is I start to organize my folders based on lesson, or you could call it bank of lessons. Okay, and then the next folder you could call it students, and the next folder, as with Preppy, trial classes. Click enter, and here we are. So in banks of lessons, I then create a folder based on, for example, if I type it correctly, visiting Scotland. Click enter, and then what I do is I go into here in this folder, and then I upload the lesson based on visiting Scotland, which I've sourced. Going back here, students, pretty simple. I go and let's create a student called Juan Pablo, for example. And in Juan Pablo's folder, I would start to create it by lesson 1, lesson 2, etc., etc. And what this allows for me to do is to have a look back at what I've taught Juan Pablo. If I'm teaching 20 students, I'm not going to remember what I've taught 20 individual students. But what this does for me as a reminder is going back to the individual lessons, checking very quickly, okay, have I taught this lesson with this student? Because the last thing that I want to do is to repeat the same lesson again with the same student, because that wouldn't look very good on me. So I always keep a documentation or that sort of thing. In terms of trial classes, let's say I had one student and I, let's say Natalia, for example, And in this trial class, I would have one with Google Docs, and then I would upload a PDF file. And if that student decided to book a class with me, then I would move that trial class to students, create their dedicated folder, share the link with that student so they can access everything, download everything, that sort of thing. Yeah. So that's how I organize my folders. So when it comes down to teaching, make sure that the resources that you have are banked somewhere which you can copy and put into a different folder available for students. And also make sure that you keep an eye on what you're teaching and how you're teaching and that sort of thing, because it would definitely do yourself justice. Otherwise you'll end up running around wondering, what am I doing? Have I taught this? I don't know. And then the student says, oh, you've taught this one before, and it kind of looks a little embarrassing. Okay. The next thing with regards to teaching online is to create a routine. So the actual aspects of teaching, try to create a routine so that students feel comfortable and safe when you're teaching them. If you don't have that routine, if students will not feel comfortable, they feel unable to predict what's happening, and also they'll see that things are, particularly with kids, they'll feel uncomfortable when you're teaching them. Okay, I've just had a question from one person, so let's bring it up. Let's see. Hopefully it will fit on the screen. Okay, hello sir, what do you reckon are my chances of getting admitted into a Celta course? I'm non-native and a holder of CAE and CPE certificates that I received with a mean score of 213. Not entirely sure what the actual scoring system means, VGO old school, but I guess I'm not entirely sure, but if you're a holder of the CAE and CPE certificates, then that's a bonus. It demonstrates to potential teaching centres that you have a level of English which is required to teach. Okay, I believe that all Celta trainees need to have the equivalent of C1 in English to teach. If you don't have C1 and you have B2, for example, then you're not going to be allowed on the course. And from what I've heard, Cambridge at the moment are being quite strict on, particularly with the level of English when it comes down to Celta trainees, and it's not just for non-native tutors, but it's also for native tutors as well, because believe it or not, native trainees have quite a low level of English and a low level of grammatical awareness, so it's quite important for centres are able to provide a course that Cambridge expect as well, that with that level of English that's required. But seeing that you've already got a CAE and CPE certificate, you're able to demonstrate that you've got an ability of English which is suitable for the Celta course, and it's essentially just trying to persuade the trainees, the trainers, that you're passionate about English teaching and that sort of thing. So this would definitely improve your opportunities when it comes down to going through the process of applying for the Celta and being accepted onto the Celta. So I don't see it as being a hindrance, but when it comes down to holding particular qualifications for the CAE and CPE. Okay, so I hope that answered your question in a roundabout fashion. Okay, Any other questions, please feel free to put in the chat and I'll bring them up and answer as promptly and as quickly as possible. But thank you ever so much, VGO Old School there. Okay, right, so where was I? Routine, that was it. So creating a routine on an online environment is very important for both the teacher and for the students, and particularly for younger students. You know, there's a time and place for things to be a bit unexpected and random. It definitely does help create some sort of interest in the lesson, but your lesson shouldn't be unexpected, unpredictable all the time. Okay. The next recommendation for teaching online that I would suggest is having a look at how you go about delivering instructions. And it's really important within you're very welcome, Old School, VGO Old School. Thank you very much for your question. Nice question anyway. Anyway, when it comes down to an online environment, the ability to actually deliver instructions becomes more critical. Within a face-to-face environment, within a physical environment, you can check whether students actually understood what you've said. You can see by their facial expression that they have understood what you've mentioned. But within an online environment, it's very difficult to gauge how students have responded to your questions. So when it comes down to delivering instructions within an online environment, I would always recommend that you deliver them verbally, but also deliver them visually with within the chat or something like that, or within a PowerPoint slide, and detailing these are the key aims that you need to achieve with your task and that sort of thing for the students, because that does help. And then when it comes down to management, classroom management, it's quite a broad aspect within an online environment. It's not classroom management in the traditional sense, but it's also management within an online digital environment. So if you're teaching groups of students and they're just whispering or chatting to each other, then you could just go on with your webcam, and if you're hiding and you've switched everything off, you could go in front of them and say, come on, you need to be looking at this. But the other aspect is the sort of gentle, diplomatic responses to type something in the chat so that students are aware that you're monitoring them and they go back to what they're expected to do. And then the final tip that I would recommend is student engagement. Try to exaggerate your tones when you're teaching online, because it doesn't come across. So, if you're teaching online and you're like, hi, welcome, it doesn't look that good, even particularly with a video or live stream that I'm doing at the moment. So you have to exaggerate your expressions, and this would definitely come across when you're teaching online. Okay, I've got one question here. Let's pop it up. Moo Maths. Nice name, Moo Maths. Hi, I'm a maths tutor on Preppy, and I'm thinking about investing the earnings in new equipment. Also make YouTube video about mathematics. Can you suggest which headphones and mic to use for both? Funny enough, Moo Maths, today I was looking at equipment as well, the sort of equipment that you need to consider getting, and the first piece of equipment that I would recommend is getting a decent enough laptop or desktop. If you have a decent laptop or desktop, then it's not going to be difficult or a hindrance when it comes down to teaching online. The second one, and apologies for those that have already watched this, but the second recommendation I would get is either getting a headphones, and these are two types of headphones you could get. You could get either a wireless set of headphones, or you could get wired headphones, which is, kind of messy. Now, as I mentioned before, and apologies for everyone who's said, who's heard this before, if you get the wired headphones, it's great to plug it in and it's constant supply of power. That's the advantage. But once you put them on and you've plugged them in, there's very little movement that you can have. Okay. Now, the advantage of the Bluetooth headphones is you are able to wander around, so I can walk around and put them on, and I've got much more movement. And when I was talking about expressions and exaggerating your expressions when teaching online, the wireless headphones allows that flexibility of moving and exaggerating your movement and engaging the students. In terms of other equipment that you could invest in, you could get a microphone like this. I think I've put this in the description of the video, so have a look at the description. There's a link below on the microphone and the actual arm that I have here. And the next thing that you could look at is getting a sort of webcam or camera, if you like. And the webcam that I would recommend, always an external webcam. It's better than a laptop webcam, because trust me, if I went to my laptop webcam, it would look pretty poor. But getting an external webcam on the top of your monitor here is great. And I would recommend the Logitech C920, I think it's called. It's really useful, very good quality. I think you can get 1080p and 4K now, which is great for webcams. And the webcams also have, like the Logitech ones, have a microphone embedded into them, so you don't necessarily need to get this microphone. You could use the webcam microphone if you wish. And it's quite powerful, that microphone, on the Logitech C920, I believe. And also, if you do get a microphone, then I would recommend this Rode microphone as well. Anyway, and I hope I've answered your question there. And yeah, I think that's about it for today. As you can see, it's the end of our live stream. So huge thanks to everybody who joined. I'll look forward to seeing everybody next week, 1 p.m. Hope you enjoyed today's visuals and everything else like that. And remember, 1 p.m. British summer time is when I start. The clocks are going back or something like that soon, so there's going to be a bit of a change in terms of timings and that sort of thing soon. But I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, thumb up, that would be great, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Take care, stay safe, and happy teaching. Bye bye. Now I've got to switch this off somehow. All right, ciao.